Hi, my name is Gabby Parker, and today on Count on It, we have Taylor Clemmer with We Sell Restaurants. He's a certified restaurant broker. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, Taylor.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. Gabby and I, we met basically through one of these business networking groups that I go to here in Nashville. It's called Connect Nashville. So yes, I am a certified restaurant broker with the restaurant brokerage firm We Sell Restaurants. And We Sell Restaurants is the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm. In 2023, restaurant sales, of all the restaurant sales across the country, our firm was responsible for 1 out of every 5.
Wow.
So that's about 20% of all restaurant sales. So when you hear restaurant brokerage, it's very similar to general business brokerage, but we focus 100% on restaurants only. And when you hear restaurants, that's kind of a broad category that includes, coffee shops, juice bars, cigar bars. I have 2 profitable ice cream franchises for sale. Okay. So it's a pretty broad category when you hear restaurants. And because we focus on restaurants only, we're able to get tremendous results for our clients. Results meaning time on market. So we value businesses and we value restaurants based on their financial results. And after that valuation, we list the restaurant and we try and find that one buyer for that particular business. And again, but because we take just such a focused approach and we don't try and sell a bit of everything. I'm not trying to sell a daycare, a gas station, a cleaning company, a landscaping company, a liquor store, and maybe 1 or 2 restaurants. 100% of my inventory is restaurants. And so when you take a focused approach like we do, you tend to become, an expert with what you're trying to do. And that shows with the results that we get for our clients, results meaning time on market. Okay, the average time on market for a restaurant to sell is about 1 year. Okay, so that's data that we collect from sites like BizBuySell and other nationwide brokerage companies. Now, the average time on market with all the brokers in our firm is about 6 months. Okay, so it's about 50% faster. So so again, it shows in the results that we get for our clients. And I've yet to meet a client or a restaurant owner that came to me and asked me for help that wanted to own their restaurant for a whole nother year. When they make the decision to sell, they want it sold and they want it sold quickly. And I can speak to that, personally, my own experience. I owned a restaurant in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale for many years. And when I made the decision to sell, I was tired. I was exhausted. It's a lot of work that goes into making a restaurant run properly.
The restaurant?
About 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were at a point of profitability to where I could either hire a manager or consider selling. And I had never sold a business before. I did not know how to properly value a business. I mean, how do you go about, selling and listing and, finding the buyer for your business? And what I did was I contacted the We Sell Restaurants broker that works in Broward and Palm Beach County in South Florida. He came in, he valued my business based on the financial results. He told me what he thought he could sell it for, and that sounded good to me. And we listed it. I hired him and we listed it, and he brought me a buyer in 4 weeks.
Wow.
Not months, weeks.
Wow.
We were under contract, and then we closed about 3 weeks after that.
Okay.
And so long story short, I ended up investing in the company, and I own a territory here in Middle Tennessee. And I have about 10 or 11 listings now. Okay. I have 3 deals that are under contract, and the average time with these 3 restaurants that are under contract, the average time that we were listed before we went under contract was about 5 or 6 weeks. So it's the same results. We're getting the same results here, in the Middle Tennessee market, in the Nashville market, as we do in other parts of the country. And our sellers, these restaurant owners, are very grateful that we're able to procure and find that one buyer and be able to facilitate this deal so that they can get the restaurant sold and they can move forward with their life. And then on the other side, we're able to help buyers that are looking for either profitable restaurants, and they can come in and they're buying the concept and they continue to operate that restaurant as it is and maybe make some improvements, or we do a lot of what are known as asset sales, to where we're just selling the furniture, the fixtures, the equipment, and the lease is going to be assigned to the buyer. But the buyer is just looking for space. They need space to operate their restaurant concept, and so we're able to they're able to buy these asset sales, which are infinitely cheaper than doing a build out. That's what we help these buyers do, because if a buyer is just going to start with 4 walls and they're going to build out a kitchen and build out a restaurant space, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And if I'm able to help a buyer purchase one of these asset sales, for $100,000, and it already has a licensed kitchen in place, that is the most efficient way to open your restaurant, because you've already got a licensed kitchen in place. You don't have to do a build out and spend a year getting permits and loans and all these things. You're able to buy the concept, maybe make some modifications, and be open in a couple weeks. So we're able to help buyers get open quickly, but also get open and open their restaurant for an affordable initial investment.
Right. So if I can go back to your personal experience with your restaurant, when you asked We Sell Restaurants to come out and value your business, how long did it take to turn around that valuation?
Well, so valuations, it all depends on how clean the books that we are provided are. So being a CPA myself, my books were very clean. I did my own bookkeeping. I do my own tax returns, so my books are very clean. And so the broker is able to do the valuation there on the spot, answer any questions, and we what we do when we're doing valuations is we value businesses the same way that SBA lenders value businesses. And what that is, that's calculating sellers' discretionary earnings or sellers' discretionary cash flow. And so what that is, you start with a profit and loss or a tax return with that net income number or ordinary business income number, and you make you look for what are known as add backs, expenses that kind of could be considered, kind of personal, or they don't affect the cash flow of the business. So we add back things like, cell phone, travel expenses, meals, if there's depreciation, amortization, interest expense, things like that. And the more add backs you find that you put on top of that initial net income number, the higher that net income number goes, the higher the valuation goes, and once we calculate sellers' discretionary earnings, then we apply a market multiple to that number. And so that market multiple is anywhere from 2 to 3.5. So in other words, if we calculate sellers' discretionary earnings of, say, $100,000, you multiply that number by 2 to 3.5, and you're talking about a range of sales prices from $200,000 to about $350,000, right? But as far as the valuation, how long did it take for the broker that helped me sell my restaurant? My books were clean. He's able to do the valuation immediately. But now with what I see often with the books that I'm provided, oftentimes I have to kind of see through the numbers that I'm provided, and there will be issues and concerns that have to be addressed, and you always have questions, about 4 or 5 questions about the books that you're provided. And it's like you and I were discussing a little while ago. I would much rather do an accurate valuation and address the issues now on the front end, so that the value that we're giving this business is accurate, rather than just accepting the numbers that I have. And then when we have a contract in place and we enter due diligence and the buyer is is doing his due diligence, is looking at the tax returns, the profit and loss, the sales tax reports, the POS reports, looking at all those documents to make sure that there's nothing funny going on in the numbers and the valuation is accurate. Well, if there's an issue, it's going to be found by the buyer. And again, I would rather have an accurate valuation on the front end rather than discover an issue. And, if it's a big enough issue, it could scare a buyer away. And the buyer could say, hey, this is a major issue. I don't feel comfortable moving forward. Right. So that's what so these valuations is a big part of my job on the front end first, to value the business correctly. And then, and then once we have the valuation done, the buyer and we have a meeting and we agree upon the sales price, right? And once we agree upon that sales price, then they can hire me as their exclusive listing agent to list the business and try and find that buyer.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because in that valuation, you're looking out for both the buyer and the seller, in that you want to make sure the valuation is high enough for the seller, but then is a reasonable price for the buyer. So getting that target valuation is very crucial and requires, I'm sure, a lot of data as much as possible from the seller, and that's up to date, organized, very clean and easy to read.
And an issue, for example, I have two profitable ice cream franchises for sale now. And it's a listing. It's an over $600,000 listing. Now, most of the times with these more valuable listings, like not these kind of cheaper asset sales that will sell for like $100,000, but like these profitable businesses that are making money, obviously they're going to command a higher valuation. And with these higher valuations, we get to, $400,000 or $500,000 sales prices and higher. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be lending involved. Okay, so the buyers are going to want to go to a bank and they're going to want to finance a portion of the purchase price. And like right now, SBA lenders are offering 20% down and to finance 80% of the purchase price. But these banks, they're going to do the same thing that I'm doing. They're going to value the business. They're going to say, okay, give me prior year tax returns, give me the profit and loss statement, and they're going to calculate seller's discretionary earnings. But if I go ahead and I do that legwork, and I've already done and calculated that number, and I've made the adjustments for any issues I found, then lending, hopefully that lending process, it's going to be expedited. We're not going to have issues and we're going to be able to proceed. But every time, we run into any issue, like say with the valuation, or, say we're missing like a personal financial statement with the buyer, or a consent to credit check or something like that, every delay can put your deal in jeopardy, because as a broker, with what I do, time kills deals, and if we're organized, we have accurate valuations, the odds of your deal, moving forward and not running into any major issues, go up tremendously.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of potential issues or things that could come up. So in the interest of even our audience, like what would you recommend restaurant owners do in terms of preparation or even lead time? How much time should they give themselves to prepare for this change in their lives and for selling their restaurant?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'd say is, 80-90% of what I do is consultation. If an owner gets the idea, a restaurant owner says, hey, I'm even remotely considering selling my business, they'll call me and we'll come and I will explain what their options are. Okay. When it comes to evaluation, like is it a profitable restaurant or is it not? Okay. Is it an asset sale or is there a valuation involved, and we can apply a multiple and so on. So once we have that initial meeting and I'm able to explain what their options are, then these restaurant owners can make kind of an informed or educated decision of, yes, I want to proceed because I like the valuation and I like the potential sales price, or maybe no, I thought it was worth more, and I want to keep operating the business and growing the business and maybe sell later, or any number of scenarios. But my point is, if owners, it's just like me when I was considering selling my own business, I had never done it before. I did not know have any idea what the business was actually worth.
Right.
But then once I had the initial meeting, that initial consultation, then I could say, okay, well, these are my options. Now I can think through it logically, and I can talk with my partners or with my family, and then I can make the decision what's best for me moving forward. And I'll say this again, I keep referring to, the example with myself, the first meeting actually that I had with the broker in South Florida, it was actually a year earlier, the initial meeting that I had.
Okay, yeah.
And the valuation, the numbers weren't exactly, where I wanted them. But then, you fast forward a year and our business continued to grow, and he came back. And again, we did the same thing. We had the meeting, I gave him my numbers, we did the valuation, but that's just an example of, many times these meetings I'll go to, I'll explain the options to the owner, and they'll say, well, based on what you told me, I don't want to sell yet, which is fine. That's completely fine with me. Again, you have to do what's best, for you in your life. But hopefully, if I took the time to, for the consultation and, explaining their options and doing the valuation, hopefully, a year or two down the road when that decision is made, hopefully I'll be, top of the list. For the potential, listing, to get the listing. So.
Yeah, and you have a very specific audience, like restaurant owners in particular. And even you were saying in your experience, you were a CPA, so your books were even very clean, ready for that meeting and consultation. Right. These days, while you're working with We Sell Restaurants, about how many of your clients do have their books ready to go when you show up for that consultation?
Yeah. Let's see. Every now and then there will be no books, no bookkeeping at all.
Wow.
So actually, but before I came here,
that makes me nervous.
So actually, but before I came here, a gentleman called me. He owns a sushi restaurant in Nashville.
Okay.
And we had a great meeting, and I asked him, so what is the state of your bookkeeping? He said, well, I don't have any. I said, okay.
And how long has he had the restaurant?
So not more than a year. So I don't think he's had to file a business tax return yet.
Okay.
But obviously I'm kind of limited in what I can do as a broker.
Right.
I can still sell the space as an asset sale, no books and records. But if this particular seller, is telling me, hey, I'm making X amount of dollars every month. So because I'm making all this money, I want this sales price. And I say, well, okay. If you want that sales price, though, and you want me to list your restaurant for sale and try and find a buyer, the first thing the buyer's going to ask for, might have to edit that out. The first thing that a buyer's going to ask for is their books. They say, show me a profit and loss statement or show me a prior year tax return. They could care less what I tell them what the business is making. They say, show me your books. And if you can't show them your books, there's only so much. There's only a certain price that I'm going to be able to get them for that restaurant space. So so to answer your question, some don't have books, and that's one of the reasons that you and I are speaking now is I need a reliable accounting firm that can help get their books up to date so that we can again revisit the valuation. So I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But then other the rest of the people, restaurant owners, I'd say all of them, will have some type of, either bookkeeping or prior year tax returns, to provide to me. But almost everybody, all of the profit and losses that I get, there are issues that need to be addressed.
Gotcha.
Like we had already discussed. It's very rare that I would just get a clean, perfect set of books with no issues. I'd say that's probably 10, maybe 20% of the the restaurant owners that contact me. But again, that's fine. That's what I'm here for, is to do a proper valuation, and that's an advantage that potential restaurant or that restaurant owners and potential clients have in hiring me as a broker is they can take confidence in the fact that I'm bringing 12 years of public accounting experience to make sure we get this valuation right. So they can have confidence in the numbers and the range of sales prices that we're talking about.
So in this case, with your restaurant brokerage firm, you're specifically working with restaurant owners who are trying to build, maintain, survive, do whatever they can to make sure their restaurant is still operating and don't have time to work on their books, don't have time to run reports, don't have time to even think about where they're at. Is there cash in the account is their main question.
Sure.
So that's where somebody like Genovations Accounting could come in, whether it's a cleanup project right before you sell the restaurant or it's a month-to-month basis bookkeeping contract where we can go in and enter the data, reconcile the accounts, provide reports to the owner so that they know where they're at. Being able to just give them a window into where their financial standing is with their business. And then, when your firm comes in, you can hand them all the reports, profit and loss, balance sheet, sales tax report, so that the valuation can be done, the restaurant can be sold, and we can move forward with the agreement.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of these, business owners or restaurant owners, it's their first business that they've owned. One of my listings right now that we're set to close this week on Friday, the new owners, they've worked in restaurants, for the last 20 years, but and so they have all this experience and they saved up money and they want to do something on their own, but it's their first business. It's their first business and it's going to be their first restaurant, and so new business owners, might not realize, just how important it is to keep your books up to date, to not get behind. And oftentimes too, some of these, new business owners, they'll attempt to do the bookkeeping themselves, which is fine. I mean, depending on the complexity, of your books, I mean, you can try to do them yourself, but from my point of view and what I do as a restaurant broker, my hands are going to kind of be tied behind your back, and there's only going to be tied behind my back, and there's only so much I'm going to be able to do to help you if you don't have up-to-date books. And so, that's why I'm, excited about, our, partnership, moving forward, so that when I do run into these situations, and, I had a meeting just before I came here, and that's the exact situation. The bookkeeping is behind.
Right.
But, this particular restaurant owner wants, this particular price. And, if he wants to hire me and to sell the restaurant and to get that premium price, well, step number one, get your books up to date.
Yeah.
Come to Genovations Accounting and get your books up to date. And then also, I'm going to highly recommend, you get into one of these, month-to-month contracts. So it's a month-to-month thing. At the end of the month, send in your bank statements, send in your credit card statements, and you guys, the accounting firm, we'll do these. I don't know what your turnaround time is, but I imagine
10 days. So by the 10th of the following month, the business owner should have profit and loss, balance sheet, accounts receivable, and accounts payable, if we track that, and a statement of cash flows.
Excellent.
Yep, and sales tax filed if needed.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm sure that this is even becoming a bigger business for you all because Nashville is growing so quickly, and a lot of people are coming to Nashville to settle, and a lot of people are also starting their own businesses. So you'll have even more restaurant owners coming your way, I'm sure, within the next few years as well.
Yeah. My practice, I'm still establishing my practice. It's going to be coming up on a year here, in a month or two, and with any new business venture, which this is for me, that this is a new business venture, and it's actually been a great fit for me because it's the best of both worlds. I get to use my accounting knowledge, to do these valuations, and then the fact that I've owned a restaurant and kind of speak the restaurant language, that opens up a lot of doors for me. When I'm meeting restaurant owners and managers, my whole goal is just to have a conversation with somebody, and kind of build up that trust and that rapport with them. So that, in the future, whenever that decision is made to potentially sell, again, you've got that, relationship in place and that contact, there. So, but yes, right now, in the Nashville market, it is very much a seller's market rather than a buyer's market. Seller's market meaning inventory is low, and some of these asset sales that I'm working on now, I am not shocked. I'm surprised at the the sales price that we're able to get,
Okay.
the amount that we're able to go under contract for with these smaller deals, because inventory is so low and
Okay.
the buyers are looking, for months and months. One of my deals in Midtown, the buyer told me, he said, I've been looking for space for 6 months, 6 months
Wow.
every day for 6 months,
Wow.
and I
Yeah.
have not been able to find
Oh
anything.
my
And this is
gosh.
the very first thing that's, even close to what I'm looking for, the location I'm looking for. And I'll just mention this as far as price and asset sales. It's normal for us to get around $100,000 for an asset sale.
Okay.
And one of my listings. One of my listings, very limited kitchen equipment. I wouldn't say it's fully equipped. I mean, it does have a small hood, but
Okay.
there's not a lot of equipment in there. But we were still able to get in excess of $100,000 for this space.
Okay.
And it's same thing there. And again, these buyers, they're willing to pay a premium price, even with limited kitchen equipment, because they're just so desperate to find space to operate. And when something comes up, they have that kind of sense of urgency. They're like, well, there's nothing else available. This is close to what I'm looking for. Okay, let's move forward.
And the
I want to
business is
proceed.
there. There's definitely customers that will come to this restaurant as Nashville continues to
Yeah,
increase
and
population.
it depends as far as the customer base goes. With asset sales, a buyer or a new restaurant owner is bringing their own concept to that space. So more than likely they're going to buy the assets. The lease is going to be assigned to them. And then more than likely these people, they normally close for a couple of weeks,
Okay.
just to give the space a facelift, to create the atmosphere and the environment that they want for their restaurant concept.
Okay.
And then they'll reopen. But like another deal that I'm working on, it's a sushi and Japanese style restaurant, and the new owners that are coming in, they are going to change a few things with the restaurant, but they're going to continue to sell sushi. Right. And so the customer base that is there, this restaurant does a couple 100,000 in sales, selling sushi. Well, that same customer base is still going to be there, so they're still going to be able to take advantage of the customer base that is there.
Right.
But, on the other side of that coin, with profitable restaurant listings, there are a ton of advantages to buying a profitable restaurant listing. I mean, I know that may seem like common sense, but when it comes to opening and operating a restaurant, I'll just provide two different scenarios. The first scenario is say you're buying an asset sale. You come in, you buy the asset sale, you close the restaurant, for say a month or two, and then you reopen. Well, in essence, if it's a brand new concept, you're starting at zero.
Yeah.
And, normally with what I see when it comes to restaurants, even my own experience owning my own restaurant, you're talking about 2 to 3 years of operating your small business, your restaurant, before you start having positive cash flow, and you're not having to put money back into the business, So, so you can go that route. And you can certainly go that route. That's what I did, but just understand it's going to be a while before you start seeing a return on your investment, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or you can pay a little bit more money for a profitable restaurant that's making money, and has several prior years of income tax returns, and has proof of concept and profitability, and again, you will have to pay for that, but day number one, the day that we close on the restaurant, that day belongs to the buyer. Okay, so day number one, we sign the contract, the lease assignment is done, and you are officially the new owner of this business. The very first day, you've got cash hitting your bank account from day one.
Yeah.
And in the business, it's profitable. It's profitable based on the financial results. And so, so you're going to be able, you're going to have the reassurance, so to speak, that, you're investing in a successful and profitable business, that you're going to be able to recoup your investment and earn, earn money into the future, and potentially continue to grow the business and its valuation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been super helpful and informative. I learned some things here. So thanks for coming on, Taylor.
Sure.
We really appreciate having you on. Count on it. And if you're a restaurant owner in Nashville in particular, and you're considering or want to just even discuss a potential sale of your restaurant, Taylor with We Sell Restaurants would be a great option. And then, of course, if you're any small business in the Nashville area and you need bookkeeping accounting services, Genovations Accounting is here to save you time and stress. So don't stress your success.